Hello everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to episode 4 of Breaking the Silence with us, Breaking the Paranormal UK.
Yeah, I'm Kim.
I'm Luke, and today we are going to be talking to Tom Warrington, who is a lone investigator. He's been in the paranormal field for some years and he's written a book, and we're going to get him on to talk about this book today.
Yeah. He was also on a radio show.
Oh yeah.
The Pure Paranormal
Pure
show.
Paranormal show, yeah. He did that for the last 4 years, didn't he?
So that's recently just finished.
Just finished it, yeah.
We've got loads of questions to ask him. He's our first ever guest as well. So he's brave.
First guest, first week back after, or first 2 weeks
Christmas.
back after Christmas. First episode after Christmas 2021.
Yeah. Can you tell our bush our eyebrows
We've
on?
had a break. I've put a bit of weight on.
Bit of Christmas weight.
pudding, haven't we?
That's why we're wearing big jumpers to hide it.
But yeah, we thought we'd get back into things, talk to Tom. Obviously invite more guests on as the weeks go out, and then
See who's brave enough to come along and give us a chance to interview him.
Yeah.
So
we have upgraded with a light behind us. It's not the brightest light, but it'll do for now.
yeah, a fairy light.
Until I get my studio sorted in the attic. This is alright at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be alright.
It'll be alright, it'll do.
Right.
Get some sound, get some sound quality, better equipment as well.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
What was that?
I know. Every time we do these podcasts, we always get stuff happening in the house, don't we?
Yeah, and this is why we have sort of loads of cameras jotted, because then when we look back, we can hear if it's on all cameras or you know.
I've got a camera upstairs in the bedroom, the haunted bedroom as well. So that's where we got all our stuff when we do investigations. So hopefully something will happen on there, and we'll see something. So every time we do this podcast, for some reason the activity seems to pick up.
Yeah, it's like someone maybe some spirit want to join in.
Because like I say, when we did the investigation, we had all these cameras.
Got really aggressive then.
Didn't we?
We
had all these cameras out when we was doing the investigation, so they might think, well, oh, they caught me that time, they might catch me again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if you are with us spirits in the house, come and make yourself known on these cameras for us, please.
Come and have a chat with us, whoever you want.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll move on. We'll get Tom. We're going to talk to him on Skype with it being coronavirus. We're still on lockdown, so
yeah, unfortunately.
we're going to get Tom on Skype, and then otherwise we might have had him round on the table with us, having a few beers or something.
Coffee and some biscuits.
I've got coffee in my cup, but
what? What was you going to say?
I could have put some beer in it.
What was you going to say about the coffee?
I don't know.
You were going to say I've got a coffee, but what? I made that coffee.
Oh yeah. I don't know what I was going to say.
What was that?
Oh, that's probably the windows or something. But yeah, we're going to invite Tom on. We're going to give him a call on Skype right now, and then we'll get on.
Hopefully we can get hold of him.
Yeah, if we can get hold of him.
So let's do it.
Let's do it.
Well, I've been really excited to come on. I know this is the second attempt, isn't it? Really? No, it's good. It's good. It's the thing with COVID. It's brought out these great shows like yourselves doing this, and it's fantastic.
Great. We've been like 3 shows.
well. Yeah, but it's great because for those neutral people or people relatively new to the field, these shows are a hub of information, aren't they? And that is what it's all about. It's about sharing ideas, ideologies. People need to talk a lot more, I think, in the paranormal, but that's probably another topic for another show, really.
Yeah.
But there you go.
That's why I wanted to start the podcast, because you see all these other people like talking about it, and we was doing events ourselves, weren't we?
Yeah.
But you're not getting involved with other teams as much.
Yeah.
So I thought we'd set this podcast up and then try and get involved that way. And obviously you're our first guest as well on this show. So.
You're very brave. Wow. You're our first ever guest.
Fantastic. Oh, that's even better.
This is this historic moment.
Fantastic. Cool.
I think we've learnt a lot, haven't we?
Yeah. Also, when
doing this podcast,
like you know yourself from your radio show, the research you put into things, you learn stuff yourself, don't you? So
yeah, you learn along the way.
Yeah.
You do, and I think you guys will find as you continue with your show. I mean, the more the wider net you cast out for guests, the better, because the paranormal is quite a huge umbrella of different avenues, isn't it? Not just all about the ghosts. And it is strange when you kind of look into things, how some of the topics are interlinked somewhat. It's really weird. So once you scratch the surface, that's it. You're lost within that rabbit hole.
What inspired you to write a book, Tom?
So I started writing many moons ago. I did some articles for Supernatural magazine, which is quite a very popular online publication. And I think putting pen to paper, it was just something, because I had a lot of ideas. A lot of things were frustrating me. More importantly, I think that's why I kind of started to write, really, because I was seeing things and it was just kind of aggravating me somewhat, really. You know what it's like at the minute. I mean, when I first started back in the 90s, this internet thing, this what wasn't here. There was no massive groups. There was no big company. There was a handful of companies, but groups just met up at the local pub to chat all things spooky. You went to locations, and that's all it was. And it was a smaller community. And now it's exploded. And it's very easy to get wrapped up in the moment, as it were, and it's very easy for individuals and groups to kind of get that kind of fame hungry passion, as it were, and they lose that kind of original point as to why they started being interested in the paranormal. Which the internet, again, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. I mean, it's fantastic for shows like this and others that are doing some great work, but it's created monsters. It really has. It's worrying me now, because they're getting to a point where they're not stopping at anything. They just want those stars. Well, I learned about this I think last year. And I thought, what the heck? That's just, it's just madness. It really is madness. But
you go on, so you click onto them because you can get notified and stuff, or your friends watching it.
Yeah.
Then send the stars, and that's what we thought. What the hell are these stars?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's money, isn't it?
Yeah, it's money. But
it's money. Yeah.
That's what everyone's taking the paranormal as now. It's the easy way to make money, and it's like what is it? It's like who's got the most followers, who's got the most likes, who can get the most subscribers, kind of thing. I think that's how it's turning out to be. Yeah.
And again, it's scary to think what it's going to be like in 5-10 years' time. I dread to think it. I was actually a couple of years back thinking of actually coming off social media completely, because it was really ruining me as a person. It was harmful to me. You can't really voice an opinion anymore. I mean, those days have gone. Crikey. I mean, the amount of times I voiced my opinion in groups, you get shot down in flames, and that respect factor as well has gone, and like you said, with followers, what that has also created is like this kind of cult following now, this new cult following, modern day cults, with social media, and they will pull you down. I've had some dreadful, awful messages, emails. I mean, just to think another human being can say something, utterly, it's just disgusting, how others treat others at the minute. It's utterly embarrassing. But going back to the writing, I started writing articles many moons ago, really to voice my opinion, and others alike, really. And it's quite nice to kind of see your publications out there and people actually commenting and putting their views as well, because I really like that as well, where people actually read it, process it, and think, I didn't really agree with that, but then produce their kind of meaning to it. That's what it's all about for me.
Yeah, I agree with it.
Well, at the beginning of the book, you talk about, you know, what got you interested in the paranormal, and you mentioned the Enfield haunting. What was it about the Enfield haunting that particularly grabbed you?
I think, you know, poltergeists are possibly the holy grail, second to witnessing apparition. To gain it, to have a case where you have things moving, noises, materialization of water, fires breaking. I mean, that is an extreme haunting. So I think at a very young age, I accepted the fact that people are experiencing what we call ghosts. But then I got that book from my uncle, which was such a strange gift to give a 10-year-old, and I didn't sleep for a long time after that. But reading up about the Enfield haunting, what I felt as a child when I read that initially, I thought, I put myself in the position of the family as a child, and I thought, how would I react to those things happening in my home? Well, I would have run a mile. So that family did amazingly well to keeping somewhat of a normality or a normal life, so it were. But I think, again, as well, looking at the Enfield haunted, the people who were involved as well. Now, Maurice Grosse and Guy Leon Playfair, probably the two main investigators of the case. I was lucky enough to meet Guy, bless him, the late Guy Leon Playfair, at the Goldsmiths University, I think about 5 or 6 years ago. And he did a presentation on the Enfield haunting, and he actually played some audio that had never been heard. He wrote several publications on the Enfield poltergeist, and some of the audio was pretty hard hitting, you know, something out of a horror film, you know. And I think as a youngster, it really did capture the imagination of unknown forces and what's out there, what can it be, you know. And it kind of raised so many more questions than towards to the ghost hypothesis, you know, an apparition, a materialization of something. You can kind of think of ways of why this has happened, but poltergeist phenomena is a total different end of the spectrum, where it's physically moving things, you know. Now that is a game changer, as it were, you know. If you saw something move, like two police officers at the time in the 70s saw the chair move on its own, and they are, you know, they testament to this day that that's happened. That's incredible, you know, that something is at force there. But I think, you know, poltergeist phenomenon is quite magical in its own way. So I think that's the reason why it kind of first kind of catapulted my interest, as it were.
Have you ever witnessed poltergeist activity yourself?
I wish I had.
Yeah.
I wish I had. Do you know, I've experienced a handful of things in 20 years. So I'm either doing something very wrong, or the other investigators are, you know. No, I'd love. It sounds awful because people do experience this, and it can be. I mean, it must be so frightening. You know, we can only depict what it could be like, and it does remind me actually of a private case I did at Avey, which is in the book, where for the first time I've seen a family pretty much living in one room, because they were so frightened of what was going on, and to see people's general fear in the face, that I'll never ever forget that moment. Because when you I don't know whether you guys have seen someone with just, you know, stricken fear, the face is just it's horrifying in itself. But I mean, you know, I wish my house was haunted, but then again, I don't. You know, it's one of those. I don't think the kids would like it too much, but there you go.
Talking about your houses, I think when we first moved into our house, you might have heard the story because we bang on about it a lot, but it wasn't a poltergeist to say. It was like the bed was moving, which got us up, and then the figure at the end of the bed, wasn't it? Basically,
we both saw.
This is the first we
first
was in the
night.
Oh wow! Are you still there?
Oh yeah, we're still with you.
Yeah, we've not moved.
We're still investigating all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Whenever we do podcasts, when I listen back, you can hear we've heard like voices and noises, and it happens every time. So,
but I say I think that is because when we investigated it, was acknowledging it, was talking to. We had all the cameras out, and now every time we do the podcast, we're doing the same thing with the camera. So it might think, that they caught me that time kind of thing. So
probably
might want attention, yeah.
But we always have like a few cameras around.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we can check back. We can check all the audio to see if it's on every single camera.
Brilliant. So, there you go. That's a sign of some good investigators there. It is. You know, you'd be quite. Well, you're probably not shocked at I mean, some of the places. I've been invited to quite a lot of events and investigations. And one group actually I spotted on their camcorder, they had the incorrect date and time on it.
Wow.
It's like, this is basic stuff, but each to their own.
Yeah. That was I say it was a private investigation, wasn't it? Of the investigation you were just talking about.
Abby.
Yeah.
Abby, because I was calling it Abby. Yeah.
It's actually pronounced AB to the locals here in Lincolnshire.
What is the right way to, or what do you think is the right way to investigate a house investigation? Because I feel like they're a bit more of a touchy thing to do. Very
touchy. You have to get the right ethical practices in place first and foremost. You have to treat the family. I mean, personally, I have stepped away from private cases now. They can be very, very dangerous, and not in the paranormal sense, especially when children are involved, which was the case at AB. But what we did there, we treated the kids and they went out for the day to Skegness. So with that kind of we removed the children from the property, as it were, which made it a bit more safe, But people are strange, and I've done some really. I look back and I think, why did I do that? Because I'm a lone investigator. I used to be involved with a group in Nottingham many, many moons ago. And I think I'm on my own. If somebody accuses me of something, then I haven't got a leg to stand on. So I've kind of stepped away from the private cases now. But the best way to deal with them is to have that friendly approach. Do not go in all guns blazing with your tech. You don't need to bring any tech or anything like that. You need to be interviewing the people. The recommendation that I say to people, when people contact me and say, I feel I've got something's happening in the house, so I say, right, okay, do a diary for me. Do a diary for 4 weeks and then get back to me. And 9 times out of 10, they never get back to me because the activity ceases. Now, I don't know why that is. I can't put my finger on it, but it seems to eradicate itself. Whether it's the people find out that there's a normal explanation, which is kind of the process that I think, if you take a 4-week window, then 9 times out of 10 you will find the normal boxes before you enter the paranormal box. So that's a great way and a first indication to conduct yourself at a private case, to get them to do a diary.
You met the lady of
AB.
AB. It's like fine, isn't it? AB. You said that it was possibly the best evidence you might have captured. which we've listened to it tonight.
Yeah.
Really weird stuff. You can definitely hear a woman humming, but you said you could hear a woman screaming
as well.
Oh wow! Well, that's
I don't know if it's
first.
it could be a door squeaking. It could be some obvious, but like in the first couple of seconds, it sounds like a woman screaming. But we can actually play the clip now for you guys to hear it.
Yeah, we'll definitely play it so they can have a look at it.
Yeah.
And thanks for sending us that, by the way.
That's all right. No, you're welcome. The more the merrier, really, because people still are scratching the heads. And to this day, I mean, I'm literally talking about it. I've got goosebumps. I just remember sitting in here. I mean, the office is where I do everything. And getting back from that place, I felt mentally drained, as it were. And I think emotionally, for me, it was... it was very touching because we was dealing with a family that were very frightened, and they generally did experience stuff. They claimed to have seen things disappearing and reappearing, things moving. So you could argue the case that possibly it was a poltergeist manifestation. But again, we don't know what poltergeists are, and it's just a label. But yeah, it's so weird. But I honestly, after 20 years, I've only had a handful of things happen, and I don't know. And I've been approached by people in the past where they say to me, "You're too close-minded. You're too close-minded." But I'm the opposite of that. I'm so open-minded, and people call me a skeptic. But being skeptical as an investigator is a good thing. You know, you have to. You can't, just presume that every bang and every knock is to do with anything paranormal. That's not an investigator. An investigator looks at all the normal plausible possibilities before you even comprehend the paranormal. But the AB thing, it was a very strange time, that.
And you've still got footage, haven't you, that you haven't even watched?
I know. Do you know what?
What are you doing?
Look, I've got my fingers in so many pies. It's just I'm literally spinning plates all the time. That is my daily life. It really is. And that's one of the reasons why I had to finish the radio show. We had the very last episode, I think, not a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Very, very sad, because it went on for over 4 years, and it was my little baby, and we did so many things with it. And I met Barry through it, amazing friend now. Not just Barry, but people that we've interviewed as well, guests I'm friends with. It was an emotional thing. But yeah, the footage thing. I collated so much footage on that investigation. It's unreal. But yeah, I have still got stuff to go through, but I am planning to get through it. I promise you.
Yeah. You have to let us know if you captured anything else.
I will.
So yeah, you mentioned in your book also that the theory of ghosts and the possible connection with ufology, which is more of like
your thing.
I'm UFO mad at the minute. It's
good,
isn't it?
Yeah,
because it is an alien. That's why.
Could you explain a little bit more of what you mean on that chapter?
Yes, yeah. It's a possibility, and I've met some people who are firm believers that otherworldly beings travel interdimensionally. Now, I think that we are, as a human race now, evolving at such a fast speed. Our understanding of science is changing daily. Now, scientists do claim that there may be a possibility of multi-universe, and it's a bit like the Matrix. It reminds me of the Matrix film, really. But the link between ghosts and aliens are something that I've been researching quite a bit on. I have interviewed people who, when they have claimed to have seen a UFO, days later, they somehow start experiencing what we call a haunting, which I find fascinating. And now, is it a possible cause that ghosts or whatever they are using the same pathways as our interdimensional beings up there? You know, it's a plausible explanation to why the two are maybe interlinked, and maybe why these ghosts are using possible different locations, popping up from different places. How are they traveling? How are they manifesting? You know, it's a possible way of why they're traveling. You know, so that to me is a bit of a link there to ghosts, and it sounds so odd when I say that because the two topics are totally different end of the spectrum, aren't they? Where we think about an intelligent life, and then we're talking about something that is a possibility to the afterlife. But again, how do they show themselves? How are they traveling up there? And how are we witnessing apparitions that are popping up at A location and B location of the same apparition? You know?
Yeah. It's a bit food for thought, isn't it? Like, say, if
weird,
the afterlife is there, why is you could say alien life, say alien forms, is our next life, is the afterlife kind of thing, or am I just pushing it there?
I like that. I like that.
You're talking about your latest theory.
Well, my latest theory.
On Facebook. Why? Tell him.
No, I will forget about that one.
Don't get embarrassed by it. So locations, you've also got a chapter about pubs. Would you say that was your sort of favourite kind of
Well, you know what? I mean, I like visiting pubs anyway. But I tell you what, here in the UK, we are spoiled for choice with historic locations. And it's always fascinated me that, you know, all these pubs and inns in England are, you guys are from Nottingham, yeah? You've got the, oh God, is it Salutation Inn?
Salutation, yeah.
Oh my goodness me, what a great pub. And you also have, oh God, I did an event there many moons ago. It's embedded on the rock of Nottingham, where Nottingham Castle is. Jerusalem, that's it. I mean, that is an ancient place, you know, and the links to the Knights Templar. These places are historic in their own right, but I think the fascination with me with haunted pubs is the reasoning why they are. Why do we have so many haunted pubs? Well, A, we have a lot of pubs here in the UK, so that could to answer that one straight away. But B, if you strip back the history layers to these places, it is absolutely fascinating. And I did a place in Derbyshire, I think the Bullythorn Inn. I mean, that place had connections there. I mean, it had Roman Road, for goodness sake. It had so many claims of different types of period ghosts. And when I say period ghosts, I mean in time, from Roman soldiers right through to, you know, pistol wielding highwaymen. You know, it's an incredible amount of history on one spot. And I think that is maybe the reason why there are so many haunted pubs, because you have that mass amount of human emotion in one certain place. It can be happy, it can be sad, it can be joyful. You know, it's got all that incredible ball of energy throughout the centuries.
Yeah.
And you know, that human empath emitting that kind of energy on a daily basis in one spot is probably the reason why there are so many haunted pubs in the UK.
Yeah. And I say some of them like 600, 700, 800 years old.
There you go.
Like way back then, the law wouldn't have been so strict, would it? It's like the amount of people that's probably been killed in these pubs from being drunk and stuff. It's like I say, it's crazy to even think about.
Yeah.
What would you recommend as your favourite pub to go to as to investigate, and what would you recommend?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I love York. York is a bit of a second home for me. I stayed at the Golden Fleece, and that's okay. But I think they've overdone it with the kind of look at me, we're the most haunted pub label.
Yeah.
But I've spoken to people that have had experiences to this day still happening in the Golden Fleece. I didn't experience anything over the 2 days, unfortunately. But the Ye Old Star Inn in York would be my recommendation. I don't think you can investigate it because it's still an open pub, but just to be in there, they used to put a lot of the plague victims in there. It was used in the wars. Again, we're talking about the layers of history, building up on those energies. It's, you know, I think the more history in a certain spot, I think you've got more, well, you certainly have more opportunity to maybe experience something, because, you know, the human element is a fundamental part to what a ghost is, surely, because, you know, that interaction, that human empath, emotion, it's so important. So, yeah, the Ye Old Star Inn for me would be a top place to visit in the day. I'd go in the day because it's very good, because a lot of the local people are quite open about talking about their experiences as well. So if you do get a chance to visit York, then I'd recommend that place.
Yeah, I love York. It's great. But you've never been, have you,
I've
Kim?
not been to York.
How can you not been to York?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Wow.
I do. I want to go Golden Fleece.
They've got the dungeons there as well, aren't they?
They have, yeah, and apparently haunted as well.
Yeah.
And not just that though. The York has probably the most famous ghost story ever, and that is the Treasurer's House, with Harry Martindale experiencing the Roman legion going through the walls there. And they do tours in the cellar where Harry fell off his ladder as a young apprentice plumber when he witnessed those apparitions go through the wall. You can actually do a tour down there, and I'm telling you, you've got to do it. It's an amazing place, and it feels really odd. And I've touched the wall where, the walls where, you know, he heard the bugle sound first and foremost, then he heard the horses, and then he saw the legs and the Roman soldiers march through. It's the most famous ghost story ever, and people would argue the case it's not, but it definitely is. It most definitely is. And you know, the thing I love about York is they are proud of their history and their ghost stories. They are.
Yeah.
You stop anyone in York, and I guarantee they've got a ghost story, or even better. You know, they do amazing ghost tours, ghost walks. But the Treasurer's House have done it so well, because the late Harry Martindale, you know, he never believed in ghosts, and he never spoke about his experience until a lot of time after. So that, to me, in itself is quite interesting, because it seems to me that those that don't seek ghosts experience ghosts.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
I don't want to play with tricks with you out there.
It's frustrating. I'll give you that.
Well, speaking of Harry's, you mentioned in your book Harry Price was an inspiration to you. Could you tell us a bit more about Harry and what it was that inspired you?
Goodness me. Wow. I mean, I could talk all night about Harry Price. He was, I think, the first. Well, he was the first modern day ghost hunter, and he was the first to kind of lay those bricks down to methodical investigating. And when I say methodical, I mean time stamping stuff, writing stuff down. The famous Borley Rectory, he actually bought Borley, and he invited people. He put in an advert in the local papers, and he was asking for people to come to this apparent haunted house. Now, what I liked about this was it was a bit of a social experiment. It was like a Big Brother. in a haunted house, you know. And what Harry did was he gave people instructions when they were staying at Borley of things to do. And what he did make sure to the point was that you must ensure if anything does happen or you feel that something's happening, you write it down, timestamp it. Because then what he did was collate all that information. And what he could do is, I mean, something that I do is trend, you know, look at when, where, and how things are happening. Because then if you've got so much information, what will that information gives you as a person is a better chance of experiencing something if something is occurring at the same time or in the same way. So he invited a number of people to do this, and they wrote some amazing accounts, and it was great. You know, and the thing I like about Harry, he was. People say he was a bit of a fraud. He was into his magic as a young boy. I don't disregard the fact that he may have conjured up things, but for someone who was in the limelight, he did like the limelight, and I think that was his flaw. But again, we can't take away from the fact that he set down those methodical kind of stones to think about how we investigate things. And I think that's why I liked about him, because he was just so methodical in the way he thought, you know. Everything was written down, everything was recorded, and that is so important when you're investigating.
Yeah. Lost my thought train.
You lost your thought train. Well, I think I read that he was into calling out mediums and seeing how fake they are and stuff like that. Yeah. Like if he was still alive and doing that today, do you think he'll still get the recognition that he got, or would he get the stick that we get?
I ain't calling anyone out.
That's a really good question, because again, back in Harry's day, I think people respected a lot of people. They respected more of each other.
Yeah, they did.
Today, it's just embarrassing how people are acting with one another. And I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. And I think it is social media. Yeah. I think it is a damning trait. This new thing that's been relatively new for years is creating mini monsters, mini groups throughout. I don't think Harry would stand a chance today because, you know, because he spoke like us, you know, he said it how it is. And you guys know what happens when you do that on social media.
Yeah. Throughout the years, you've just got to bite your tongue, but it's like you say, it's getting worrying now. You've got to speak up, haven't you?
It is. But again, I think there's guys like us that need to speak up a bit more. And I know a lot of people do bite their tongues. I just think until we all stand up, it's just going to get worse. It really is going to get worse. And to be honest, the last few days, actually, I've seen some interesting things from certain individuals who are doing shows about very, let's say, raw topics. The lovely Kelly J. Ellis talking about GoFundMe groups.
I was saying that today. Yeah.
I think that's the thing I hate the most.
That's
it's just. I mean, what gives that person a right? I mean, what are they actually thinking? I don't understand.
Yeah.
And there's no morality there. Please give me money for nothing, you know, because I can't be asked to get my arse off the chair, kind of thing. Yeah. It's just so frustrating. People are so. There's a lot of people that are so hardworking, and it just really boils my blood to see this, because it's. I mean, I saw a GoFundMe for a group. And this was going back a year now. They're asking for a van. They're asking for a van for their group so they could go to locations. I mean, take my money, you know. Yeah. I just can't get my head around it, you know. I just don't understand.
something I saw on like a GoFundMe was asking for something. I'm not going to mention names, but because they was asking for there was a set up a GoFundMe to pay for this item, which they'd already bought.
Wow.
Like
Okay.
what?
Wow.
Well
Yeah.
touchy.
Yeah.
I don't get people actually give them the money, and I'm like, why are you doing? What do you get
Just get
from
a job
it?
and get
What
pay
do you
for
gain?
your equipment yourself.
Yeah, they're just
It-
going to spend your money on what they want, and you're just
Yeah.
going to be sat there watching them ghost hunting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't get
That's
it.
it. No, I don't. I don't really.
Anyway, moving on. Hear all that, won't we?
Well, we kind of talked a little bit about how ghost hunting is today, but I actually, still on that topic, I made a point to you yesterday, and I was like, I'm going to say this to Tom because I feel really intelligent right now.
Go for it.
It's on about Victorian spiritualism, which, you know, I feel like when you're talking about the paranormal, you always go back to that sort of era, you know, settings sort of thing. You know how, like, with social media, it's really popular at the moment, you know, ghost hunting and things like that. And I think more lockdown. So I was just sort of like, what's the word? Comparing like how it used to be in the old days to today.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I kind of feel like, obviously, back in, you know, Victorian spiritualism, there's obviously people out there that didn't agree with, like, you know, mediumship, you know, people ectoplasm coming out of their mouths. And it's like today, you know, we don't always agree with what's going on with social media. Do you think that it, you know, it could be similar? If I don't know if my question's coming out right with what I want to say.
So what you're saying is the old kind of, let's for example, the old Victorian seances compared to the modern day times. Is that what you're trying to get at? Or?
So do you think, like...
So basically, would you think if we was to like say now get on a Facebook Live, I bet them coming out our mouths.
Which I haven't seen on a Facebook Live yet,
we haven't
but we
seen
could.
Yet, have we? Because what didn't they use, like egg yolk or something to
cheesecloth was the common trait in Victorian times because they could stuff it up every orifice there.
Nice.
Yeah, well, that's how they did it. You know, these fraudulent mediums. That's how they got their fame. But so back to the question then. I'm a bit because I'm trying to process it.
It was better in my head than it came out, I think.
I think I know what you mean, but I think there's so many different ways I could go off on this. Really.
Yeah.
It's hard. That's a really hard question to answer because I think back then the belief system was totally different to now. I think religion, modern day religion, I think people are actually questioning their own religion and asking more questions because I think the human mind has evolved even in the years since the Victorian decade. You know, to question more. I think people are trying to answer questions. They question everything now. So I think back then it was a much more believable foresight to think that yes, there is an afterlife. But they probably didn't really go beyond that motion. So whereas today we're thinking, oh, well, it could be this, or it actually could be some unknown force that we have not discovered in the world yet, you know.
Yeah.
So there's definitely... I've gone on a total different tangent now. I do apologise. Sorry, I do it all the time. I apologise.
But I was just like thinking, like comparing the two, because obviously you had your sort of bad mediums back then, you know, that were doing shocking things to get, you know, people to come to the show and to give them money. And then today we're seeing it today where on lives people are doing some crazy things and they're doing it for these stars, and it still works today because, you know, they get loads of views.
Yeah.
What?
Well, that's a worrying thing. I mean, you look at... I'm not going to mention the name because I don't want to. But you look at their following and their fan base. That's what's frightening. And people think what they are doing is correct. That's the scary point.
Yeah.
And for those that are jumping in and are new to the field, they don't know what to do, got an interest, and they go on social media and that group pops up. I mean, God forbid a newbie being attained by them. I mean, it's just... it's scary, you know, because there's so many different groups, so many different avenues now due to the internet. It's very hard to. There are a lot of good groups out there and individuals, but there are more so of the egotistical, fame-hungry groups out there that are just whitewashing everything, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I say, if these followers that are watching this stuff that they do, and they, like you say, they think it's real, they think everything they do is spot on, and then we go to them, or they come on our event or something, and then we say, no, that's not that, that's not this, and then we get the crap for it. But it's like us down to earth, genuine people like investigators that are not gonna take everything as paranormal. It's us that gets sick at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Did you mind touching my papers?
You finished with your papers?
No, I'm not finished with my papers. What do you think to modern technologies then, like the Ovilus and
rubbish.
These phone apps?
No, honestly, I, again, this is something that's a modern thing. Back when I started, I had a tape recorder, I had a torch, and I had a pen and paper. That was it. And then through time, cameras are a bit more easily available. Camcorders. We had the old 3mm tape cassette ones, and oh god, and then the hard drive ones came about, and I thought, this is great. I've got so much memory. I mean, in that sense, I mean, the only thing that I attain is predominantly camcorders and temperature apparatus, really. I think all this Ovilus and stuff like that are things for events teams. Because they are, because look, they're great. I mean, people see them on the TV, and if you're doing an event, then people will expect to see that device on their event. I mean, that's a given, you know. And I got invited to a group at Revesby Abbey. They did an event, and I've never seen so much technology in my life. And they had it all down the corridor. It's all displayed lovely, you know. It's great. Look, I'm not disregarding anything. For me, the technology doesn't work because I think I need something that is tangible to present to someone if I have any evidence of any occurrence. So temperature is something that's my thing. You know, temperature and hauntings is prevalent through history. That's a fact, you know. And that's something you can monitor. So I have things, I don't know whether I've got one available actually. I have things, temperature loggers, a little device like that. I've got several of those that I can put in a location, and they record the temperature every 0.25 seconds, you know. So then what that enables us to do, if someone in the room says, I've just felt the temperature drop, then you can actually map that, look back at the graph, and yes, that person did experience temperature because it went down 4 degrees or it went up 5 degrees or whatever. So the equipment, if it's used correctly and if it's recording or monitoring something tangible that you can present in a court of law, as it were, then great. But I think all these like obviously and stuff like that, I don't know, it's just I think they're a bit money making devices, really.
So we've got it all, haven't we? Because we've been running events, and like you say, with obviously the events side of it, I think you've got to have it because we've done events and we've had guests come up to us like, oh well, there's nothing happening, I want my money back, kind of thing.
Oh wow!
I think obviously with the equipment wise, you get to use more stuff, and then they get to have more fun, so to say, entertains them, done it a bit more. I don't like using it myself, but I'll use it. I want to see if it actually works or not.
I love it.
I love an EVP. I think that's my best bit of equipment, that and a camera. And you say you love a bit of radio, don't you?
I like a bit of spirit radio. Yeah. I think it's because I think it's just entertaining.
Yeah.
Probably the wrong answer, but whatever.
But you kind of said that though. You know, these events. I mean, what you just said there has really shocked me, really, with regards to someone coming and asking you for a refund because something's not happening. Now, that is due to TV programs.
Yeah.
Because that expectation level has grown since the late 90s, where an infamous show is still going on. Probably not on TV. I think it's on YouTube now. But they have caused that expectation, not just that show in particular, but others around, Ghost Adventures and other things like that. People watch those, they buy your tickets, and they think they want the tables and chairs to fly everywhere. But that's really worrying, because it gives those TV shows give a wrong depiction of what a real investigation is, and how investigators are conducting themselves. It's not all about things moving and stuff like that. It's patience. Patience is key to what we do, and people buying those tickets haven't got that patience, because they are expecting things to happen. As soon as they walk through the door, they want to see Casper. They really do.
You feel awful when nothing's happening and you're there, you're falling out.
It's not your fault. Look that you guys are doing, and I understand from an events point of view, because I've done events in the past, charity events. They are really hard to kind of cater for everybody's needs, because you get the believers, you get the non-believers, and you got the people who don't really want to be there, the people who get dragged by their wives, and they're all going, tutting away, and you're trying to kind of present yourself in a way that is enjoyable for everyone. You want everyone to enjoy themselves, but again, you want to have that serious approach as well. And for those events, it's a very hard tipping point to achieve. I used to find, because at one hand you want things to happen so bad for people to enjoy themselves, but on the other hand, it's like, well, the paranormal doesn't happen at a drop of a hat. You guys know that, and everybody watching it knows this. It's a long waiting game. But I think the events, what they should be doing is to give that experience of how an investigation is conducted, what pieces of equipment are done. I don't think there's enough education on events either. That's something that I trying to push across groups as well, because I've been invited on events where they've shoved a gadget in somebody's hand, and they've never been to a ghost hunt before. They're like, "What's this do?" They're like, "Just go in that room, mate. Just go in that room. The lights flash. You got a ghost." It's like, no, please. It's like so frustrating. There's so many good groups out there, but it's getting to pick the right group in that ocean of the internet is, it's just,
Have you ever been involved with a group in Lincolnshire?
Yes, Spalding. That was very early on in the days. That was my first experience of public events right from the start. And they really opened up my eyes to the world of events and how much work goes into it. I never realised in the background how much energy and thought process and there was so much work. It was unbelievable. And I was just lucky enough. I was just like a team leader type of person who just kind of greeted guests and took them off and said, "Oh, well, this is what this gadget does," kind of thing. But we went everywhere. We did Ireland, we did Scotland, Wales. I visited some amazing places, and I'll never forget the group. They're not continuing now, but they really did open my eyes up to it. But it also showed me something that it wasn't for me. I'm not. I say I'm not a people person. I am a people person, but I think as an investigator, I like to do things how I want to do them. And when you're in a group, you have to kind of listen to other people, don't you? It's like, it's hard work, and I take my hats off to people who do it. It is great, and I remember doing a charity event at the Stonebow Guildhall in Lincoln, and and that was probably the most memorable event I've ever done. That was a charity event, and this place had never been investigated before. No event had taken place, and it had connections to Robin Hood, the Knights Templar, you name it, it had it. Amazing. And the Mayor of Lincoln attended, and all his dignitaries, and they all joined in seances. And to see someone in their like decor of mayorism and all hand in hand, it was so surreal. It was weird. But it's just lovely to share information with people. I think first and foremost, that's what it's all about with events.
You ever been to the Trinity Arts Theatre in Gainsborough?
Trinity? No, I have not. No.
I was wondering the other day, because I went on my first public investigation was as a guest with a team in Lincolnshire. I'm originally from Grimsby, so
right.
It was only down the road, and
yeah.
But I thought I recognised you from this team in this event, but obviously not.
Oh, all right, okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I did a spell with a group from Louth, who also did some really, really cool locations. When I say cool, I mean cool. We did the Boston Glidodrome,
Nice.
which is like an old bingo hall. But back in the 70s, the Glidodrome was the place to be for every rock star. Elton John played there. Lots of big names, lots of history there. And yeah, some really peculiar places actually. But yeah, I mean, Lincolnshire is such a special place to me. It's Nottinghamshire as well. Actually, is so historic, historic.
What do you think was the most oddest place you've ever investigated? Or strangest, yeah.
I've got a few. We back in the day, someone claimed to have a haunted toilet.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, Richard Felix, back when this was happening, was actually in the process of writing a book on haunted toilets. I don't think this ever got publicised because he was on a show called Ghost Chronicles International, and I listened to his interview about him writing about toilet ghosts, which I found fascinating. But yeah, we got invited to do a toilet, which is really odd. A cave, Mansfield Caves, that was probably the oddest place because, again, never been investigated, no one in there really. It was a pub developer who claimed to have seen apparitions, things moving, again, your typical haunting hypothesis. But it was really weird because it was like half cave, and then built in was a house. It was just really weird. Just navigating that place was really odd because one minute you was in a house, the next minute you was getting dripped on by stuff in the cave, all gunk and really odd.
Should I ask our final question?
Yeah. So moving on back onto your book, what do you want people to take away from your book, and where can people find your book?
Good advertising there.
That's very good. Very good. I like that. Thank you. I appreciate that. And do you know what? I think I wrote the book for. I didn't want to direct it at a specific angle or person or persons. It's a book that anyone can pick up, whether you believe in the paranormal, you don't believe in the paranormal, or you're intrigued in the paranormal. And a lot of my chapters are open-ended. So you as the reader decide or take away something from that chapter and research it. Go away. That was the whole idea. Go look at the chapter, read it, and think about what the possibilities of why this has happened or why it could have happened. And yeah, so it's all for everyone, really. And the second book's in the process as well. And I might give you a bit of an exclusive here. It's to do with haunted pubs. Because Because I have a book from Guy Leon Playfair signed. He did a book in the late 80s on haunted pubs in the UK. And I know Richard Felix has done this, but I wanted to do it. I want to put my stamp on this area because I think there are locations that are not known to people that I believe should have that kind of bit of limelight. I think there are ghost stories out there that people don't know of, and I want to share that with people. So it's all to do with haunted pubs, inns, stagecoaches, the lot. It's going to be a good one, and hopefully when COVID ceases, I can get out there and visit them and have a pint.
I'll give you one that's in Grimsby. The Arbor Hotel in Grimsby. That's where I saw my first apparition.
Oh wow!
That is right next to the train station. It's massive. They've just built it all back up into a hotel. So when I went there, it was all abandoned upstairs. It was just the first floor that was at the pub, and downstairs is a cellar. That's where I saw my apparition. And then someone knocked an hole in the wall in the cellar, which led into another cellar. And it was absolutely massive. This pub is.
Wow.
So now it's a hotel, but I'd definitely recommend going there.
Oh wow. Oh, I'll look that up.
Yeah, it is a Wetherspoons now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Everything's a Wetherspoons, isn't it? No, back to the book. It's available on Amazon for people, and thank you to everyone who's bought it. I've had some amazing reviews, and again, touching on the fact that people who've bought the book who are not interested in the paranormal have now got that interest. So that's my job done. You know, I think that's what it's all about: sharing the interest, sharing the information, sharing that passion with everyone.
Yeah.
Sure is.
It's all about learning, isn't it? I think.
Definitely.
I mean, you can never be an expert in the paranormal, can you? Because you still learn every day.
There's no experts, I'll tell you that.
Does that let you finish with your questions?
I think that's all my questions. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you for joining us, Tom.
Thank you. No, it's been thank you ever so much. It's been a crazy 2021 so far.
Yes, very.
I wish you both well, and hopefully when COVID lifts, I'm actually inviting some people to a place that's, I mean, you're in Nottinghamshire, aren't you, you two?
Yeah.
Temple Brewers Preceptory, which is in the book as well.
Yeah.
I'm inviting some people, if you're interested. We're going to do a bit of a investigation stroke, get to know each other kind of thing at this preceptory. So you're both more than welcome because you know, you come across very well, you guys, and I appreciate you know, crossing paths with you because that's what it's all about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We'll definitely do it for that. Yeah, just send us some dates and
we'll do.
We'll come back to you and we'll get on with it.
Yeah.
Sounds very
Fingers
good.
crossed that this lockdown
I know.
We'll get this jab in our arm.
Well, it's all about the idiots, isn't it? You know, as long as they're locked in a cell somewhere, we'll be out by April. No, thank you so much, both of you. It's been great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on.
Take care.
You too. Enjoy your evening.
Bye.
Bye.
So yeah, that was Tom Warrington. It was a good chat, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good.
Went all right.
Yeah, I think that went all right for our first
guest. Yeah, I was pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with that.
Woo.
But yeah, you can buy Tom's book on Amazon.
It's a good read.
It's a good read. I'm halfway through it. Kim's read it all, aren't you?
Yeah,
Obviously, I'm busy at work. Where you're still furloughed. She read it in a day.
Yeah, I felt myself as I was reading it. I felt myself going like this, like as in I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with a lot of stuff he's said. So.
Yeah, I think we've in the sense of like the paranormal field. I think we've both got the same. All three of us got the same personality kind of thing. I think we've got the same views. Same views.
Same personality. We've
got the same views. That's
We've met him 2 seconds.
I've met him once.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems a good guy. I'd definitely recommend giving this book a read. If you haven't yet, get yourself on Amazon and get it purchased.
Yeah.
Which is called Looking for Ghost, Seeker of Truth by Thomas A. Warrington.
So yeah, get buying
Get
it
buying.
if you're interested. And
On that note,
what's our next thing?
Next one, we don't know yet.
We don't know.
Episode 5, that'll be,
I
won't
think
it?
we should do something on UFOs.
Yeah,
and you can educate
do
me.
UFO post.
Yeah, you can educate me on UFOs because I have no idea.
Neither do I. It's just my crazy, idiotic theories that I like to push onto people.
You do, but I think we should. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
To do. I think that's what we should do next.
Cool.
Alright then.
Alright then.
Oh, and if anyone watching this, and you investigate yourself, or you're a writer, or whatever, you're involved in the paranormal, and you want to come on, let us know. We'd be happy to have you on the show. Yeah.
Great stuff.
That's it.
Thanks for watching, guys. Hit a like, that subscribe button.
Send me a star.
See you guys.
Bye.